Welcome, everyone. Here we are, settling down. We're a rowdy group, aren't we? Yeah. Okay, if anybody has an extra order of service, we're low on them right now. Okay, Colleen needs one back here. Anybody else need one? Jan, do you need an order of service? Yeah, right here. Before we start with our service, we have any announcements that did not appear in Friday's newsletter that you'd like to share? Okay, no announcements for right now. As you are, you're welcome here. Visitor, friend, or longtime member, just like here's some, Gary needs an order of service too. Anybody have an extra one to give to Gary? Gary, you'll have to sit next to somebody. Okay. As you are, you're welcome here. Visitor, friend, or longtime member, you're welcome here. With little children, or your partner, or alone. We joyfully welcome you here. You're welcome here as believer or doubter, as joiner or loner. You're welcome here. Feeling a part of us or not. Full of energy or not. Seeking a vision or a rest. You're welcome to join us as you are. We acknowledge that we in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish, Nez Perce, Blackfoot, and Anishinaabe people who share the Helena Valley as hunting grounds. The indigenous story of the Helena Valley began long before the arrival of the Europeans. We honor those who walked here before us. We're going to start with the chalice lighting. Do we have a volunteer to help me with offertory and chalice lighting? Because I forgot to ask. Yes, Mackenzie, thank you. Mackenzie volunteered to be on the worship committee, so she'll be doing this next year. Yay! Yeah. And Joe and Deborah Bullington too. Is Joe? So thank you all. Okay. It's a fun committee. I love it. Okay, chalice writing. And you don't need to turn to your service book because I wrote it in its entirety here. So say this with me, please. Come into the circle of love and justice. Come into the community of mercy, holiness, and health. Come, and you shall know peace and joy. Thank you. Now, in your lighter colored book, Singing the Journey, turn to page 1012, When I Am Frightened.
Cheryl will play the piece all the way through as an introduction.
Stand as you're able.
When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some share some of your feelings with me. If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to love.
That's a nice one. Now, our new technique in January for joys and concerns is to share them via the bowl out front, so I grabbed these from there. Greg, who's not here, I don't believe, his joy is to get to see Vivian this week. His concern is going to trial in a week and a half. This is an anonymous one. I am grieving for a friend who is recently widowed, who had just lost her son to suicide. Let's keep her in our thoughts and prayers. Let's keep Greg in our thoughts and prayers too. Thanks to Carrie Fairbrother for representing vets at the return at the protest I think it was last week. Her speaking of daily impacts on people is important, about their health care and their food, etc. Janice? Okay, that was very nice. Carrie's here today. Thank you, Carrie. That must have taken a lot to get in front of those people. Bravo. In the front row, you can't see her because she's turned to your back, but my friend Janice Seymour is here. Here she is. So you get a chance to talk to her during coffee today. This is, I think, her first time here. Oh, the story for all ages, that means I'm on. Would any of the younger people like to come forward? No pressure, but if you'd like to, it's fine. Here comes Harrison. Harrison is one of our brave people. Thanks, Harrison. Come on forward. This is a quiet story. There's not much plot, but I think it's a lovely story nonetheless. Okay, I'll sit in the middle right here. Okay. Now they can all see it up there too. Okay. And the drawings are interesting. This artist doesn't feel she has to make it realistic, but you still get the feeling and everything else through the book, all her pictures that way. Oh, you want to join us? Hi. Hi there. How are you? Can you see? Each day starts with the sun and hopefully something to eat. Good. Can you see too? Okay. And something to wear. And notice how all these people have different kinds of clothes. And possibly somewhere to go. This is a universal book. Or somewhere to stay. And the day will be full of what daytimes are always full of. Work or play, or work and play. And some days, not much of anything at all. And we'll watch the clouds from where we stand. And the birds will come and go. And some things will grow and overflow. And other things will turn into something new. Or shrivel up and fade away, and some things die. And along the way, there'll be love with its arms wrapped around us tight. Notice along the way how we start with a baby, and we end up with an older person like me. So you see the whole lifetime here. Some days we will curl up and wish to be any other place but here. Had those days. And sometimes we'll be filled right up to the top with feelings that everything is exactly right. Like those days, don't we? And the night will always come too, and then we'll find our sleeping place, and maybe we'll read and maybe we'll sing before we close our eyes and drift into a dream. Hopefully it's a good dream, but sometimes not. This is our dream. There's one person flying, and actually a lot of them are flying. There's an animal flying too, I think. Lots of different things happening in the dream. And for a little while there, we are all just hearts, beating in the darkness, strong and steady and sure. Each beat is a reminder that we are here and alive, together but apart, the same but exactly different. And for just a little while there in the dark, that is all we need to be. Then the sun shines us into a brand new day, a day that is bright and blinding and full. And everyone is busy being everywhere and everything else. And all those beating hearts are still there, but struggling to be heard above it all. Each beat begging us to remember that we are already everything we need to be. We're here and alive, together but apart, the same but exactly different. Nothing needs to be heard except for our beating hearts. Strong and steady and sure. The end. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you for coming up here. Want to tell us your names?
Harrison.
Okay.
Eli. Jim.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. And thank you, too. Okay? Learn and grow. Thank you for your gifts this day and for all the gifts of action that make this community possible. If you're visiting, please remain our guest. Your presence is your gift to us. Now on page 25 of Open Your Heart Songbooks, we have our song which we'll sing after we pass the offertory. Our reading for today is page 505 in the grayish blue book. I'm singing the Living Tradition. It's not a response, so I guess I will read the whole thing. Excuse me. Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become wholly ourselves. Why don't you read the second paragraph with me? Let us be aware of the source of being, common to us all and to all living things. Evoking the presence of the great compassion, let us fill our hearts with our own compassion toward ourselves and towards all living beings. Okay? Let us pray that we ourselves cease to be the cause of suffering to each other. With humility, with awareness of the existence of life and of suffering that are going all around us, let us practice the establishment of peace in our hearts and on earth. Amen. We're very honored to have Barb Barnes with us today, especially because she's been very busy with many the activism events happening in Helena this last month. She's talked at quite a few of them, and she has helped organize, I think, many of them. She has lived in Helena for 30 years and works with conflict through the transformational model. That's capital T, capital M. Some of her clients include Buddhist sanghas, Christian church communities, Jewish communities of practice, and a variety of nonprofits, corporations, and families. She also works internationally with other mediators, providing conflict coaching and designing healthy conflict response systems. Barb has spent the last several years training white-bodied people in anti-racism work. Every day she learns more about herself and how she works with conflicts internally.
Good morning. It's fun to turn around and see that people actually came in while I was sitting in the front. First, thank you, Charlotte, for asking me to come and do this. I really appreciate it. And I understand you do this on Zoom as well. Is that accurate? YouTube. Okay. And is this the camera up here? Oh. Well, doing a lot of facilitation online, I just want to look and say welcome. I know you're here too. We need to involve our celestial members, right? Thank you. The camera pointed at me. Is this one? Yes. Thanks for making time to watch today. Okay. Let's just breathe and let yourself get here. You may have already, but just allow gravity to be your friend. Letting your shoulders come down. Letting your seat get a little deeper into your pew. Padded pews, pretty nice. Let your feet feel themselves. And if you get curious, let yourself understand how you know you're breathing. Is it the temperature in your nostrils or your throat? Is it an expansion and softening of your ribs, your diaphragm, your belly? Just letting yourself arrive. There is a lot happening in the world right now. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of fear, plenty of anger, and despair. And all of it is welcome here. We all belong. And I'm really grateful to belong here today with you. When I give these talks, I'm always completely overwhelmed with how much I would like to tell you. So if at the end of this you feel like it was a bit incomplete, it is. You know, I teach this kind of thing in week-long courses. So this is a distillation, and I'm doing my best to titrate it so this doesn't feel like a fire hose pointed at you today. I'd like it to land as softly as possible. So I picked both of the hymns today because the first hymn about being afraid, being angry, etc., those are cornerstones of being in a conflict. Conflict is almost always about fear of one kind or another. And so, you know, if you ever want I like that hymn because I thought how wonderful to invite someone to be with me when I'm in the fear of conflict and the anger of conflict, but also how wonderful to invite someone else that I might be able to give that to as well. So I found the words to be really nice, a good fit for today, I hope, and I hope for you as well. And I understand that the Bridges hymn that I picked for later on has been sung a few times recently. Can we sing too many times about building bridges and not breaking? I don't think so. I'm also going to be mentioning a few people today, and Charlotte, I will email you some resources from those people so that maybe you can put it out. I didn't give you a heads up about that, I apologize. So just in case you get curious, because bridging, not breaking, is one of my favorite things that one of my favorite teachers does, John A. Powell of the Bridging and Building Belonging Institute in Berkeley, California. He's quite the human being. I'm also going to talk about Loretta J. Ross, who talks about calling in, not calling out, and her answer to the cancel culture, which was very interesting. She's an incredible human also. And then I want to thank my teachers, Stephen Levine and Rocha Joan Halifax, and Ken Cloak is my transformational conflict mentor. He's 84 and also quite a human. Okay. I'm going to invite you, as you hear what I talk about today with conflict, to watch what your mind does. To watch your mind say, not me. That may be that it isn't all that accurate. To watch your mind to say, yeah, that's them, all right. Yep, and guess what? Probably me too. So I also have conflicts that I get into, and I can get stuck just like everybody else. Maybe the only difference, to quote a friend of mine, Therese White, who's a longtime mediator in the LA area that I work with, it could be that just because I've worked with this for years and years, I might stay stuck a few hours less than you do. But I still get stuck, just so you know. There's no halo. See, nothing there, nothing. Okay, from my teacher, what is conflict? I'm going to tell you right now. It's inevitable. It's just going to happen. And from my teacher, Ken Cloak, every conflict we face in life is rich with positive and negative potential. It can be a source of inspiration, enlightenment, learning, transformation, and growth. That's once you're given the skills to work with it. Or rage, fear, shame, entrapment, and resistance. The choice is not up to our opponents, but to us. And the outcomes will depend on our willingness to face and work through them. You know, from Ram Dass, the best thing I can do for you is my work. And it's so true. Then, as the reading said, hopefully, I don't create more suffering. Or at the very least, I don't make it worse. Okay. So, spiritual communities in conflict. I've worked with a lot of spiritual communities in conflict, and guess what? They're just like any other community. But spiritual communities always seem to be surprised that they have a conflict, because after all, we're spiritual. Nobody has a corner on that particular thing in any spiritual community that I've worked with, whether it's Buddhists, people who are in Jewish practice, Christians, doesn't matter. Those communities are often surprised. And the surprise is sort of cute for me to watch, because we're just humans. And if you think about it, what we bring are the ways we were taught to work with conflict. And most often in this culture, those skills are not very adequate for working with conflict. So there's degrees of sustainability in spiritual communities. And this is where I get very concerned about spiritual communities and how they are sustained. So the ideal is to know that it takes work, to not ask anyone to do more than their capacity, to not do more than your capacity. In that way, we don't enable the system to continue and perpetuate something that is brewing, that maybe needs to come to the surface. Conflict being the crack in the system, the sound that the crack makes in a system. An abundance of grace towards oneself and one's community and members, and using honesty and vulnerability and do-overs. So coming to someone, and I know Janice, so I'm going to pick on her, so coming to Janice and saying, I wasn't the person I wanted to be in that conversation. I cannot believe the words I used. I want to hear the impact they had on you, and I would like a do-over when you're ready. Simple, scary, real, and super effective if you really mean it. So that's one way of having a sustainable community. By the way, I have a lot of pages, but it's really big print, so I can read, so don't be too framed. Less ideal is a community that obeys the loudest or the most threatening voice. These communities have sort of given over their power as individuals and as a group in order to not have conflict on the surface. So they follow, they look away, they abdicate, and they don't always tell the truth about how they feel about that voice. And that begins to feed and create a chronic conflict. And it can be really sad, but it can also be dealt with. And the disastrous sort of non-sustainability is when a conflict in a spiritual community devolves into the normalized patterns of back-channeling instead of open dialogue, attacks and accusations, diagnosing each other. You know, oh, they're a narcissist, oh, they have borderline, oh, they do this, oh, they do that. They can't manage their trauma, whatever it is. Those are stories we tell ourselves to become distant from the other person and to not work with our own discomfort with what's happening and what we might have to do in order to work with it. So it's unsustainable when communities go in that direction. But the good news is those things are other things in disguise. So an accusation and a complaint, those are confessions that there's a hidden request. So for example, if I say, so-and-so is so lazy, they never do anything on any committee. I just can't believe that. Can you believe that? They're so lazy. They just think they're so important. They're everything, blah, 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 whatever it is. Well, that is a request to have as much gumption and courage as that person does to say no. I can't do more. I need a break. I wish I could be like them and say no when they can't. I wish I could, but then maybe I won't fit in either. So the answer is opening the community to being able to recognize and honor each other's capacities and our own capacity, and having the courage to say, gosh, this is so hard, and I can't right now. I don't have the energy. In fact, I need help. Then we can start to turn some things around, but it takes practice. So I want to read the principles of the Unitarian Church. I assume, you can raise your hand. Do you have these principles as part of your, well, I know they're there, right? But do you practice them?
We have them memorized.
Do you have them memorized? Wonderful. All of you, huh? So memorization in the cells and heart is a great way to practice what is called principles before personalities. And this is a way that 12-step programs have stayed together for so long. It's one of their tenets. Principles above personalities. So taking a look at these. And I'm just going to read these. While I'm reading them, I'd like you to just think of some conflict in this community that you've been involved in, or some other, or if it's too painful, don't. But I want you to think about these and think about if you've practiced these principles. Not if the other has practiced them, but if you have. The first principle, the inherent worth of dignity of every person. Dignity. Second, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Have I practiced that? Acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregation. The fourth principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Have I done that? Have I asked myself, what does this mean to this person? Why is it important to them? What are they saying when they're not saying it? The fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. So democratic is open and listening and including the minority voice. Am I doing that? The sixth principle, the goal of the world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Are my actions following these principles with the people that I'm shoulder to shoulder with in my spiritual community? Come on, you guys, these are tall orders. So, if you're ticking them all off, I want to see you after. I want a little bit of your blood or something. Seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are part, which to me means what happens to you happens to all. What happens to one happens to all. An injury to one in our congregation or our sangha because of some kind of suffering that we have perpetuated happens to all of us. We are interwoven. So being able to place these agreed communal values at the center of all your communications, it's helpful. Now, please, again, don't think that if you're having conflict in your congregation, this is just going to fix it up, because it takes work and repair and understanding and experiments for change. So what I teach is pause, which is postpone action until serenity emerges. Postpone action until serenity emerges. And I'll remember to include that, so you don't have to write it down. It'll be with Charlotte. So you can use a different word than serenity. I guess it still won't spell pause, but whatever. I just like the word emerges. I abide in my pause until something else emerges. And sometimes I ask myself, what else might be true? What else might be true? And abide in that question and just wait. Okay. So when we discover that we have something else that might be true, then we abide in curiosity. So neurologically, curiosity does this really wonderful thing for us. It turns off flight, fight, freeze, and fawn, which is the other F. And we're adding another one, which is flock. At any rate, when we're curious, we shift our brain and our thinking, so we then have more access to our executive function and our altruistic ways of being. So I think of curiosity during conflict as like a superpower. If we can just stop long enough to go, wait, what? What am I feeling? What's happening here? What are they really saying? I hear the words. What are the unmet needs and feelings that are underneath those words? What are my words when I was harsh? When I caused harm? What was underneath them? What am I afraid to say? How can I find a way to say that? So once we've done some of that, one of the most important things that I work with communities is in consecrating the mistakes. really naming them and consecrating them in the service of a better tomorrow, so that they can be owned and used. You know, it's like going to the fridge and getting the leftovers and making such a good meal all of a sudden instead of wasting something. Never waste a conflict. And also, never waste suffering, ever. It's there for us. I always recommend that communities create regular check-ins, and if needed, and I really, really support this with all communities of faith and with organizations, that you get a facilitator in to help, because then no one has to run the meeting, and no one has to watch the person running the meeting, and no one has to watch the watcher, and no one has to watch the watcher, and then you can just be in the conversation and let someone hold the container for you so that you can really enter into those deep spaces of vulnerability and exploration and wonder and curiosity and learning more about one another and yourselves. I can't emphasize that enough. And I will say that I know Greg Grallo. Some of you may know Greg. He's in Missoula. He was a student of mine, but he's in his own right. He's unshakable, and he's worked with churches, and he has a deep Buddhist practice. And I know that he's worked with other Unitarian communities. So if you ever think you might need someone, I would recommend Greg. I don't recommend me, because I know too many of you. And I would want it to be someone who doesn't know that many people. Everybody deserves a fresh space. So I just want to tell you a funny story about how some conflicts begin. I have permission to tell this story, and if you've heard it before, I'm sorry. But I worked with a Sangha, quite a while back, big Sangha. And they were having a huge conflict because their liturgy service was in deep question. The way that they walked into the room. And in Buddhism, movement is very important and everything means something. And we step in deep mindfulness with every footfall. So in this practice, in this group, they were a large Sangha, and the people would come in. There's an altar here, and a cloth that the abbot would use, and then the doors in the back. So they would come in, they would take 10 steps, 2 steps to the side, 2 steps forward, 2 steps to the side, and proceed to the altar. I saw that face like, why would they do that? That's absurd. That's what they were thinking too. So some of them were like, why are we doing this? And then they'd been, of course, to other services, and those Buddhists didn't do it, and they were in the same lineage. Why are you doing it wrong, Abbot? Why are you doing it wrong, priests? Why are you doing it wrong, novices? We're breaking the rules. And yet, it's the way it had always been done. So it was their practice. It's always been done this way. We can't question. Why not? Well, we just can't. This is our way. It's sacred. This is our liturgy. So one trick is to become curious. What else might be true? What is your story? What is the story of these steps? The story is 45 years before, when this Sangha was little tiny, using a different building in the Los Angeles area, there was a pillar in the middle of the room, right there. So they'd come up, walk around the pillar, and go to the altar. The abbot passed away, and they quickly found another place, and nobody made the change. They were struck by this sudden death and this sudden loss. They were struck by this quick move. And that group just held on to what was familiar. They needed it then. They needed those moves. They needed, and I tear up still, to think that that post was still there. That maybe they could be a little closer to their abbot, their dear teacher, who was associated with the post. It was his home. Right? So they inherited a great deal of this sentimentality and attachment without any understanding of why. So when I came back, there is no better sight in the world than asking in a sacred zendo with deep practitioners, disciplined practitioners, can you tell me what you discovered? And have them all break into peals of laughter and giggles. Because they were like, oh, it's an invisible post. It's not there. And what they realized was, just as if in a river, if a boulder had disappeared, the water would flow. But because the water wasn't allowed to flow, the energy, the movement wasn't allowed to flow in a natural direction, it started to create restrictions. It started to create conflict within people because they didn't know what else might be true, but they didn't know how to question. So it's so important. And I was raised Unitarian, so I know y'all know how to question. I know that it's not something that should hinder you. But it's important to look at what we inherit and what might become, sort of chronic. So one of the things that transformational models use is experiments. That's one of the cornerstones. Experiments before agreements. Understanding before agreements. So understand each other and then make agreements, but before you make them, set them in stone, make them experiments so that you can continue to learn about how you work together. And then later on, make it an agreement. And then the true cornerstone of transformational work is to have an agreement about what will happen when you break that agreement. What will we do? How will we gather when the agreement is broken? How will we gather when we inadvertently or on purpose create suffering within our group because we didn't keep that agreement? Then what do we do? Hint, it often involves a facilitator, just to give you some help. So I also really encourage people to stop weaponizing accountability. My God, I see so much suffering in the rooms where I work with it. I'm just going to hold you accountable. That just makes me afraid. I don't know about you guys, but oh my gosh, that seems scary. So instead, can we talk? Can we learn from each other? Can we understand what is happening that you are not holding that end that you agreed to hold? What's going on? What's happening? Instead of you're not doing it right. I have some of that in me. I have a finger. It can point. And I can do it politically correctly and therapeutically correctly. And it's icky. So we need to stop weaponizing accountability. So we need to remember to just please try to remember that every complaint, every accusation is actually a confession. So when someone is complaining about someone else, what are they confessing? And I apologize to recovering Catholics in the room. It's not that kind of confession. What are they saying? What are they actually saying? What is actually being said? Because there's a request under every one of those. I have never not found a request. I've never not found a need. It's important to know. And then we have to look at what story am I telling myself? We're great storytellers, so the mind has to make meaning, but we get in the habit of not looking for accurate meaning because we don't go and ask, or we go and we ask in such a way that we get a defensive response, so then we can really ramp up our stories, right? I can go and say, so Charlotte, what were you thinking? Or I can say, that looked like it was really hard. Your face got super red and you were, kind of stuttering in your speech. And I'm just curious if you can tell me what your experience was there. It's different. It's a lot different because we're curious. Now, believe me, this doesn't work if you use it as a gimmick. It's important to start to embody some of these principles. I'm 67. I've been working with this for over 20 years. I'm still working on it. So, it's just a practice. It's not about being perfect in any way, shape, or form. So we look at our stories, and sometimes the story will tell us exactly what we need to know about ourselves. Because the story will include diagnostics of the person. The story will include looking for allies in our storytelling, splitting off different groups for support, and lobbying and not being open and transparent. That's where most unskilled stories take us. But skilled stories include, like this story today, the whole community. all the possibilities that could be happening. Because what is my goal? What is my guide? Those 7 principles above the personalities, above the stories. How can they guide me back to what is and what is not? So another difficulty that we find in chronic conflict or any conflict is when we rush. Because we're in a hurry, right? I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to do this. I don't want to come and say I'm sorry in a long way to Linda. I want to just say sorry about that. Off I go, and it should be right now, but it often isn't. I want to be able to make it one of my values, and it is, in fact, to find ways to deepen connections, to find ways to at least not make it worse, and to find ways to not take myself personally or the other person personally. It's really, really helpful. That doesn't mean I don't have feelings and I don't experience difficulties. I do. Everybody does. And believe me, I'm one of the best people out there at figuring out how to get a group to do something. It's dangerous. I don't like it, and I'm really good at it. And so I try really hard every day to remind myself that's not a skill I practice. I gave that up a long time ago. Yeah. So then there's not going where you don't have capacity to go, and acknowledging that. This is really painful for me. I don't have the capacity. I need to figure out a way to build my capacity so that I can be present. Because experiencing this much fear, discomfort, anger, sadness is overwhelming me. And I want to be present. I don't want, Val, it's not your job to make me feel better and give me that capacity. I want to enter into this when I have that so we can really connect. This is a reflection of my value and the way that I find it. So finding someone who can just listen with empathy and compassion and curiosity. You know, the one thing that will kill any deepening in any spiritual community? Being nice. We can be kind, but we have learned to be nice. And I mean it that way with that s, because being nice is being polite and often dishonest. It doesn't connect. But being kind is, yeah, you really stepped in it. You really did. And I love you. And I know it can work out. Instead of, oh no, it's okay. It's okay. You're doing your best. It's okay. No. If you're in a spiritual community together, you hold each other by calling each other in, not by ignoring each other. You don't call each other out. You don't cancel each other. It's hard, y'all. And you'll never do it all at the same time. Just give that one up. But if you follow those principles that you have for this church that all people share who are part of the Unitarian movement, you'll have guidelines. You'll have ways that you can connect. And it's important. So, as I get ready to close, something to remember about transformational work with conflict is that it is a spiritual practice. It's a spiritual practice because it acknowledges that what happens to one happens to all. It's a spiritual practice because I'm drawing very close to my heart of hearts, which connects with my values, which connects with my spiritual practice, to do no harm, or at least to not do more, to put down the shovel, to put down the gavel. Used to be baseball bat, but I think a gavel is more apt. We decline gossip and instead say, wait, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear about you. What's happening in you when you're thinking of this person that you want to talk to me about? Asking for help. And as my teacher, Stephen Levine, taught so often, apply merciful awareness to everything. Just apply merciful awareness and breathe. You don't have to hurry toward anything. Conflicts are not solved, they are healed. Conflicts are not problems to figure out, they're experiences to grow from. They're opportunities. And the other thing we need to do always is maintain a sense of humor. Because believe me, you'll get nowhere if you don't have a sense of humor about these things, ever. So I just want to ask if you have any questions. And I guess there's reflections too, but if you do have questions, I'm completely willing to answer about anything about conflict or what I've done or other communities.
What have been the first steps in some of the communities you've helped? What is it? I'm sorry.
Hang on.
Oh, we're going to do a mic. Thank you.
What would you say some of the first steps people have done or communities have done when you've been supporting them?
Well, the first step is to ask for support. That's the first. And then the first step that I usually have people take is to begin to talk about what something means to them. What does it mean? Like with the Buddhists, what does the walking mean to you? Does that help, Carrie? Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
This is Mackenzie. You mentioned the taking pause earlier in that acronym. If you are in a moment where injustice is imminent, how do you deal with, like, how long should that pause be before you act to ensure that the other people that are in that moment are cared for?
So I also teach something called GRACE, which is also an acronym, and I teach it to activists and to high conflict facilitators. And it is to gather your attention. That's breath usually. Remember your intention. This can happen really quickly. Remember your intention. Attune, where am I? Where, what is happening with the person that I need to help and the people who are not helping. Consider what will be helpful here. Engage in that action ethically and then end ethically. Don't feel like you need to be attached to it forever. Just because we move into a difficulty doesn't mean we own it. It owns itself. Is that helpful? Okay. Anything else?
Besides questions, does anybody have any reflections they'd like to add today?
Well, thank you everyone, and may all your conflicts be interesting.
Thank you so much. And I will take any any additional information she wants to send us, and I'll put it in Friday's newsletter. So we'll, pause and grace and whatever else Barb would like to add, I'll put out in the newsletter on Friday. That was very, very nice. I feel gobsmacked. Like, yes, I've got a lot to think about right now. Oops. We're going to use Building Bridges, and we'll sing it 3 times. It's on page 1023 in the Singing the Journey.
Can you do a slight intro? Just the last line. That's fine.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach
It is a round, and I hope Judy leads us in a round someday with that. I heard that. That's why I was thinking, oh, wow, this is great. But maybe we should practice first, but thank you. Now we're going to extinguish the chalice. Janice, could you help? Or Mackenzie, could you? One of you. Okay. Okay. Yes, the whole congregation is a good team. Okay. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Now we do our ersatz circle where we all get together and we'll sing Dona Nobis.